I don't know. We seem kind of small on the screen here, but it's a big event. Getting a lot.
You're big, Rob. Don't worry. You may be small over there, but you're big over here.
Yeah, it looks different than it normally does. I don't know the screen here, what we've done, but got a lot to talk about today, man. It is the Masters started yesterday. Lauren Smith is going to join us. What do you got, Lauren? 65th consecutive Masters. He is in Augusta. Lot to talk about. Doug Dean in Birmingham, Dave Tompkins down in Sarasota. We'll cover a lot of ground today. Smash the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner and allow notifications on your Android and your iPhone. Got a big show. Lot to talk about. Kentucky looking everywhere for a coach. Brendan said he saw him at Costco on aisle 10 next to Glass Eyeballs looking for a new basketball coach.
Yeah, and he had an old University of Florida Gator hat on, turned around backwards, which was
there. Weird. We go. There we go.
Yeah, that was what's interesting about that potential hire, which is trending on Twitter right now, and we'll talk about that as well.
Wow. This is crazy. The guest list of people my friend is seeing down there at the Masters.
It's the Masters, man. Come on. I'll tell you my story about drinking too many azaleas under the old oak tree one and for Masters stories. So.
Well, I haven't been. I have a lot of friends that go. They love it. But hey, hang on, folks. Smash that subscribe button. Bottom.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Hi, Rob Browne here with you on this Friday morning. And let me say something real quick before we get going with this great round table. This is from Ann Camp Lee, one of our sponsors. Wanted to get this in about Rumble Boxing Gym. Probably, next week is their 1 year anniversary, and they're offering free classes for college teachers and students on Thursdays at 4:30 and 5:30 p.m. Ribbon cutting Wednesday at 1, and sidewalk sale with Stickum food and a DJ on Saturday in the morning. RumbleBoxingGym.com. Check them out. Proud to have them as a sponsor here on Sidelines, SEC Sidelines Sports Network. I see Lauren Smith over there from Augusta at the Masters. Dave Tompkins. Doug Dean's going to join us in a minute. He's said he's going to feed the grandson and get rolling. But Lauren, what do you got over there in Augusta? Is Lauren there, Brendan?
He was here.
Okay.
Maybe he has to come call us back.
The coverage has been talking about Vern Lundquist as his last year. And they keep talking about his 40th call at the Masters, and Nicklaus in 86 and Woods in 05. But Lauren's been there 65 years. So he's got 25 years on Vern.
Yeah. And Lauren, jump in here when you can from Augusta. I'm getting a lot of really cool information. Harry Styles is here. A friend of mine is there. Their family's been members of the Masters for a long time. Larry Fitzgerald, Kirk Cousins, Peyton Manning is hosting Kirk Cousins. Lots of NFL players. Map and flag tickets. Map and flag being behind the brand new building go for $17,000 a week. So, Lauren, you've got a catbird seat there. Tell us what's happening.
No, he keeps
man,
trying. You know what? I can. If the cell signal is a mess down there, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
Doug Dean's going to join us though.
Okay.
From experience, let me tell you. We'll try Lauren again. I'm not seeing his video, but we'll try him again. Lauren, are you there?
Yeah.
Tune in, Lauren. Nope. Nothing.
Okay. I'm going to send you his information. And if you will just reach out to Lauren and try to get him, Brendan, kind of walk him through this. We'll make it happen. So
yeah, I'll send a satellite over Augusta National and then see if we can't, dial it in for you, Rob. It should be no problem.
Hey,
can I get my drone in to find Lauren and then get cell signal from Amen Corner? That'd be great. I told Rob, let me tell you my story about hanging out under the old oak tree sometime. Hey, Doug Dean, how are you, sir?
Good morning. Hey, Lauren, you had one job, Lauren. I thought, Rob, they had running water in Athens by now.
No, he's in Augusta, and I think I know we know the cell phone rule. I mean, you were drawn and quartered if caught with a cell phone.
I've seen it. I've seen it removed.
Yeah. It gets intense, but we're looking forward to hearing from him. But a friend of mine who's walking the grounds right now is telling me that $17,000 for the map and flag tickets this week. That's a hefty. That's some serious golf people, Doug.
Hey, prayers lifted for the players, especially this afternoon. 20 to 30 mile an hour gale force wind. And I have to confess to a degree of sadistic attitude that it's fun to see them struggle at times. Not that I want them to fail at all, but just to see that they're mere mortals. They're not superhuman.
Well, what's cool is that with the win this afternoon, it's going to be the big struggles to make the cut. And then the weather gets really nice this weekend, and they'll set some flag tips up on Sunday where people can go at the flag, and there's going to be a lot of birdies. And so, I mean, they're basically Augusta National and Mother Nature are scripting this tournament, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, I don't know about y'all, but I'm going chalk this year. This is the year of chalk. UConn carried chalk all the way to the back-to-back championships in basketball, and I'm going chalk with Scheffler. Anybody picking against Scheffler?
I went out on a limb and picked DeChambeau even before he had his round yesterday. I just have a feeling that I kind of want a live player to win a major because maybe that'll accelerate them getting a deal done and putting this mess behind us. But yeah, I think going chalk with Scheffler is the best bet. He's the best player in the world. His one Achilles heel putting is behind him now. He's putting well, and it's hard not to go with him.
The reason I'm, as y'all know from football and basketball, I'm most fascinated with the psychology of it all. And he's not the only player I would say this about, but when you combine Scotty Scheffler's game, the way he's playing right now, the many different shots he's got that Augusta requires, and then you add to it, when you hear him interviewed, and a lot of it goes to his deep, abiding faith, and I don't want to overplay that hand. There's a lot of people that are believers that don't win the Masters, but that he just plays. He's bringing a calm to this, and I think Augusta really rewards players that are able to say, "Hey, no, it's okay if I lose. I intend to try to win." But am I the only one that gets that just abiding calmness from Scheffler?
It's so fun to compare the demeanors of Scotty Scheffler and Tyrrell Hatton of the UK, now part of Live. Yeah, I mean he is just a walking train wreck of a personality. I mean he's probably a good guy, but boy he loses his temper out there, drops F-bombs, then hits the next shot well and gets a big smile on his face. He threw his ball in the water on 16 today. It is fun to golf is such a mental game, and some players like Hatton can run hot and play their best golf that way. But I think the right demeanor is what Scotty has.
Hey, here's Lauren. Lauren, okay. I know we'll get you while we got you. You're there in Augusta, and got the video going. Man, what an environment! We got Dave Tompkins in Sarasota, a golf junkie. Doug Dean in Birmingham, and Buddy Martin's son Brendan in our studio down in Ocala.
Or just Brendan,
Brendan.
I'm just Brendan too. I don't, I'm 50, Rob.
Well, I know that.
At
That's
this
right. You are
point,
Brendan.
I gotta be like.
But Lauren, man, what do you got? Let's talk about the Masters. We're watching it on TV all night. It started late. The guys were just talking about the wins, but really, this is 65 straight for you, isn't it?
No, 64.
Okay, 64.
I went with a season badge in 1960, in April of 1960, and then I got into the media connection the next year, 61, and I haven't missed one since. I most of those, except for a couple, I have seen all 4 rounds, but I did have to. I had a medical situation one year and didn't get to see the weekend rounds. And then my wife made me go to a wedding in New Orleans on a Sunday of the final round several years ago, and I'm still complaining about that. But it's really been great. The greatest fun is, I think, getting to appreciate the history and tradition so much. I just think that I don't throw around divine intervention very much, and I don't know what that would really be. But there's something so unique about the Masters, and there's a quote that Bobby Jones had several years ago. Well, I saw it several years ago. Actually, it was in a book he wrote about how fabulous the property was. That property was a nursery, but it just has everything. It's got water, it's got pine, it doesn't have rough, which is an issue with some people. I know Lee Trevino told me that they had rough at Augusta. I'd have won it 3 times. But Bobby Jones didn't want that. And it still can be a very, very tough situation. I know I just looked up a transcription of a recording, a taping I did with Arnold Palmer in the mid 80s. And he said the Amen corner, for example, might not be the toughest holes in golf, but under Masters pressure and all the things that can happen, those have got to be the most exciting and the most challenging holes in golf. So I think that's what makes the Masters so unique. They were innovative dating back. I can remember talking to Sam Snead, Byron Nelson, Gene Harrison about how well the Masters was run. It's always had an extra bit of, good application to rules, and it's just a great place to be. The Masters was the first tournament to have red numbers to denote under par. First tournament to have gallery ropes when golf really got to be popular, and the crowds just swelled to an unbelievable proportion. So there's just so many innovative things that have taken place at Augusta. Now, they've been critical. People have criticized them over the years, and in some cases it might have been justified, but they basically said all along, we are an invitational tournament, and they didn't insult anybody, but basically we're an invitational tournament. We run this club for our members, and we're going to do what we think is best for the Masters, and we don't care what anybody says. It took them, they were not against minority participation, but they had to get it right. It's interesting. They change their rules from year to year, and they don't think about how is this going to affect a certain individual or a certain group. But they got it right. And just like the women's issue, I think they basically said we have never, like so many private clubs, we never have admitted women as members, but the wives of members play as much golf as they want. But when they got it right, they really got it right. Like I was fortunate to go to dinner there Tuesday night with Vern Lundquist and a member, and Condoleezza Rice came over and visited with Vern. And that was what I really enjoyed the most.
Yeah.
Had a lot of great members at Augusta, but to see all of the young players, Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm come over and tell Vern how much they appreciated what he meant to the Masters. And Vern, who's a seasoned professional, I can tell you was weak-kneed. He was blown away by all these young players coming over and speaking to him and congratulating him. And an interesting thing happened. I think it was Monday. He was walking outside under the big tree, and Jack and Barbara came by and stopped and chatted. And Jack all of a sudden says, somebody got a camera? Of course,
Oh, signal.
Wow.
Signal come. What a story. Just
So much.
Doug
So,
jumped in.
everybody's got a cell phone camera. So Jack got the camera and asked somebody to take the picture. So he went over and put his arm around Vern. They raised their right hands and said in unison, "Yes, sir." And if you recall, that was what Vern said when Jack made his putt, a critical putt when he won for the sixth time.
On
So
17.
we all in college football are happy to say yes, sir, to Vern whenever we see him because we remember that. And it was just touching to see these young players really give Vern the time of day and a pat on the back.
Doug, jump in here. That's great. Awesome.
First of all, Lauren, you're looking and sounding great.
Hello?
We lost
We got
you.
again. Okay.
Anyway, hang in there with us, Lauren, with that. The hamster needs to crank that wheel more.
We got you. Yeah.
Anyway, Lauren, if only you could scare me up a couple of those 50-cent egg sandwiches from Augusta. That would be nice. And let me hasten to say that is adjusted for inflation, 50 cents. There's a heavy Augusta subsidy, I'm sure, for those affordable sandwiches.
I'll jump in with Lauren talking about the women, and you think back 15 years ago when Hootie was Hootie Johnson, not Hootie
Hootie
Ingram.
Johnson. Yeah.
Hootie was the
Blame
chairman, and
Hootie.
the whole mess with Martha Burke and trying to get the sponsors to revolt and all that stuff, and he said he wasn't going to change at the point of a bayonet. And then you fast forward to this year, and it's Saturday morning. Last Saturday morning, it's the Augusta National Women's Amateur that arguably is the most important event now in women's golf. And there on the first tee, you see Annika Sorenstam in her green jacket, Condoleezza Rice in her green jacket, and the girls just so excited to be playing Augusta National. Perfect weather. I mean, it's I love how there's a tradition of the tournament, of the private club. It's always going to be a private club,
Yeah.
but the evolution of first the golf course and how they make changes almost every year to evolve the course of the modern game. I believe this year the changes were made on the par 5 second hole to lengthen it and move the tee box a little bit to the left to make it a harder hole. It had become too easy of a hole. And then just the evolution of the entire tournament and adding the Augusta National Women's Amateur, adding the drive, chip, and putt. It's just, I think they are, in my opinion, they are the best stewards of the game. And it's just, talking about Vern in his 40 years, we have Lauren here in his 65 years. And I guess it was the Arnold Palmer 1960 was your first year. I thought it was the Art Wall 59, but I did my math wrong.
Yeah, and DeChambeau, who is looking great one round in, and all the buzz is about, which is pretty amazing to think about with all the technology and research out there and marketing of golf clubs, the planned obsolescence, Dave, if that's a term that means something to you, that DeChambeau has adjusted the design of his irons, and it seems to be offsetting some of what has caused him problems before. But he's made his apologies about previously saying that par at Augusta is 67. He's got it. He'll learn. These young players have to learn to revere these hallowed grounds that have earned reverence.
Absolutely, and I'm not at all a Live fan, and probably everyone on this panel is not a Live fan. but he is playing really well, on the live circuit. I mean, he's won a handful of tournaments there. I think he shot a 60 or something final round, and at Greenbrier a year or two ago to win there. So I mean, his game has not left him, and he's going to be a tough guy to beat this week. But to your point, Doug, I still like Chalk. I still like Scotty.
Yeah, same.
Lauren, we got you back here, and and speaking of Vern Lundquist, my kids all said, we had him on the show a couple of years ago. They said that he's so iconic. That's how they remember their childhoods, getting together with my dad. They call him Grand Bob, and watching, if we weren't at the Auburn game, watching a CBS college football game with Vern Lundquist. And he is, when we had him on the show, to me, he just keeps getting better, just like you. I mean, that's why we follow this. And look in the background, you can see you're up on the set. You see your book up there, my thumb? What do you got, Lauren? I mean, so let's talk. Keep talking about this, because we're going to keep you just a few more minutes. I know you got to get going, but this is a really special event.
Okay, well, I'm okay now. Finally,
Okay.
Technology didn't trump me. It usually does, as it did there a moment ago. Well, Vern is just so generous. It's like some people are born with a good heart. So you see them doing charitable things. And Vern was born with a gift. He had that great voice, but he treats everybody all alike. I mean, during football season over the years, when he was do a game in Athens, he'd often come by my house after the game. And naturally fans, and let's face it, fans don't necessarily mean it, but they do get in your hair. They do get in the dadgum way sometimes. But he treated everybody like they were as important as, the athletic director of the two schools playing in the afternoon. He just has a gift with people. I'll tell you who I compare him to, Arnold Palmer. Arnold Palmer enjoyed people. And I don't ever remember a golfer or anybody saying that they had a bad experience with Arnold Palmer. Well, I think Vern has that same characteristic. Just a good guy. He can carry on a conversation. I see a lot of that in Kirby Smart, the Georgia coach. Some people get tired of the public. Some people get tired of fans. But Arnold Palmer never did. Vern never did. And Vern's comfortable with 2 or 2,000. He can just carry on a conversation with as many as in the room, and he just makes everybody feel good.
Lauren, go ahead, Lauren. I'm sorry. Did you finish?
No, and I was just going to say, and I saw all of that with the former champions coming by to see him last Tuesday night at Augusta. Just everybody wanted to say thank you, Vern. Some of that was because they realized this is his last Masters.
Well, the thing I was going to say, if I can borrow from one of my avocations, I enjoy playing a little guitar and singing. I guess I'm one of those Irish tenors, but I'm fascinated with Vern's voice. As you said, you're born with that. You can develop it to a point, but it's just gravelly enough that it makes it just perfect for some of these epic big moments. And what I'm so happy about, which would not have been true, I guess, even 30 or 40 years ago, is because of the World Wide Web and coverage of sporting events and audio and video, everything is captured. We mere mortals, as we get older, we start thinking about our legacy and what little bit of immortality might live on long after we are gone. And my goodness, the calls that are in the library of Vern Lundquist calls, and Rob can guess what one of my favorites would have ended: unanswered prayer. And in the 2005, that unbelievable putt that Tiger made, that just for all of us, and just to taunt his rivals that day, the ball hangs on the edge of the cup for what seemed 60 seconds. It was probably only 3 seconds. And just got a gift, and we're going to really miss that voice. There will be other voices that come along, like Another one right way up the list for me would be Al Michaels, especially that U.S. Olympic team call, and what line they're going to use more often than not. It was not and cannot be rehearsed. They just have to draw it from their brain and creativity in the moment. That's what makes Lundqvist so great.
And everyone remembers that moment in 2005, and everyone, kind of believes, that's the end of the tournament. But what a lot of people forget is that Tiger bogeyed 17 and 18 to back into a playoff with Chris DeMarco and then beat DeMarco in the playoff.
Yeah.
But everyone remembers that Vern moment, as it should be. And Vern seems extra prepared this year. I mean, his diction, his preparation. I mean, he is going to go out in a blaze of glory, but a very humble blaze of glory. And what an impressive guy! It just, and like I said earlier on the show, I think this is going to be a fabulous weekend. The weather's set up for some really good scoring. And probably we're going to have another Vern moment on 16, where they'll put the flagstick on Sunday, kind of near where it was in the first round.
Oh my! Speaking of "oh my," which is one of Vern's great preferred phrases, and that's all you need. That's wow and "oh my." It's not the words; it's how he delivers it. But it would be greedy, wouldn't it, guys, to ask for, if only for Vern Lundquist, that at least Tiger is at least in contention the afternoon of Sunday. That's asking too much, I realize.
Well, we always talk about rising to the occasion. I think you have to give Vern's a special toast or tribute in that when the magic moment appeared, he off the cuff delivered. He did. I've talked to him about this a lot. You can't prepare. Well, what am I going to say if this happened? You just can't. I mean, nobody knows that Tiger's putt's going to hang on the lip. Nobody could predict what they would say. You don't imagine that shot taking place. You didn't imagine Jack's putt going in. So he couldn't prepare for that. It's just that he rose to the occasion like great athletes when the opportunity came for him to say something. And he has mastered being a man of few words. If you didn't, Frank Shakinian would absolutely assassinate you. So Vern just has a gift, and I think it's because he's so enthusiastic. He knows, he's so knowledgeable, and he always puts himself in a position to where he's familiar with his surroundings, and when he has an opportunity to say something, he chooses the right phrase.
Yeah,
I sure hope there'll be a plaque for Vern and the Tower on 16, because that is going to be hallowed grounds in terms of media coverage of anything, but particularly the Masters.
Well, I don't know. You guys may have been familiar with some of Larry Munson's great calls here at Georgia.
Oh yeah.
Boy, you don't know.
But now think about this. Was he a better announcer at Georgia than he was at Vanderbilt years ago? No, I don't think he was necessarily. But Vince Dooley's teams had so many, won so many games coming from behind late.
Yeah.
He didn't have that at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt didn't win a lot of games during his tenure as their play-by-play announcer. So Vince Dooley's teams gave Munson an opportunity, as the Masters did Vern Lundquist, for example, to come with greatness. I think it's significant that the great players, great performers are ready when the moment comes.
Yeah. Yeah. Buddy, jump in here. You've been to a couple of Masters with Lauren and seen that incredible atmosphere over there.
I am honored to be on with my good friend Lauren Smith. We've had a few pimento cheese, some peach cobbler over the years. And I've been to a couple, and not as many as Lauren, but great to see you, Lauren. Great to see all of you, by the way. But I'm so glad to see Lauren. Been a while, Lauren, and I'm thinking about you right now. I'm sitting in Ocala thinking, man, I would love to be up to Augusta right now. Although those hills are pretty tough to tackle.
Well, I haven't been on the course in a few years now. I don't want to ruin my week by going out on Thursday. But yeah, I love those days, and you had them, buddy, when we could follow the leaders for 18 holes if we chose to. But I thought you were going to say you remembered all those days in the Quonset hut.
That too. Well, that's been 2 generations removed now. That's way back when. Even the so-called new media center that we thought was great has been replaced. I've not been there for the old one. The Quonset hut was something special. And I won't get into too many storytelling things here, Rob, because Lauren and I could go for 3 days, not stop. But Lauren, do you remember the attic rats?
Yeah, I do.
The Masters attic rats. Let me tell you the background on them. At the Quonset hut, Lauren explained how the top roof is curved, and the people who were like us, and by the way, Dan Jenkins was one of them too. Well, we sat upstairs, about 80 of us, and we in the attic, we called it. And so one year we decided to have a little pride on what we were doing, and we created the attic rats. And we got T-shirts of everybody, and we got Tiny, the 350-pound security guard, to come be our private guardian. And we put up a daily sheet of news from the attic rats. And the history of that came from when I was in college, and I lived in the Fidel house in the attic, literally, along with 3 or 4 other poor boys. We got cheap rent. And one of them was Ed C., who was a prominent golf course architect. Arnold Palmer's right-hand man.
Yeah.
Don Rutledge, who did 6 Final Fours as an official, and a couple others. So we all have our little history. Those are I think you were one of them, weren't you? Weren't you an attic rat, Lauren?
Yes, I very much was.
Yeah. And for years, and I'll stop talking here, but around the old Quonset hut, and I guess now they have the pictures of every golf writer president every year, individual year, who they were, individual, all the writers. And so it was quite a thing to see those pictures up there. So we lobbied for getting a team photograph of the attic rats and getting it posted in the Quonset hut. And by gollies, we got it done. It was there. In fact, one of the last things is when Dave Kindred told me, well, I went to the old Quonset hut, and I went to the new facility. Sure enough, your attic rats picture made the transition. It was there for a while. I think it's gone now. But boy, what a special place. I got a lot of questions. I don't know. What is Jason Day wearing? What is that shirt?
What is that? The pants yesterday and that ridiculous sweater this morning.
I actually like the pants because I like the pants flapping because I'm an anti-yoga pants guy, okay? I'm sick of seeing yoga pants, everybody.
Yeah.
So the fact that they can actually flap in the wind, I tweeted that yesterday, and Ted Shaker tweeted it back to me. Yeah, I love it too. So I don't know what that is about. Lauren, you have any answers? Do you know, Dave?
I really don't. Vern question, like, what's this morning? He said, what's Jason Day doing? He's obviously trying to make a fashion statement. Whatever that Mambo Golf something number 319 on his vest this morning is just ridiculous.
Yeah, somebody needs to write about that, right, Doug?
Hey man, hey buddy,
Doug, jump in here, yeah.
Thank you. Great to see all you guys. And buddy, it's been a minute or two we've seen you. I hope you're doing well in marital bliss, friend. But I want to pivot because I know it's the Masters tournament that captivates all of us, especially with it being Vern Lundquist last year to call it, a lot of other storylines. But we would be doing a disservice to your listeners, Rob, if we didn't weigh in on the fascinating turbulence at the Big Blue Nation, Kentucky Wildcats in basketball. And it doesn't surprise, I bet it doesn't surprise any of us so much that Calipari, in the end, I think after renewing a commitment, trying to stay there and him be their guy, he gets an opportunity in Fayetteville, which is a place you can win a national championship. They've done that. But I don't necessarily see that as a perfect fit for Cal. I don't mean that to in any way besmirch Arkansas and Fayetteville. But Calipari is he strikes me as a little more Madison Avenue in terms of style. Not that Lexington is the destination for men's fashion, but you get my point. But now what's more fascinating to me is that because of the architecture of college sports now with NIL and portal transfers, candidates who are proven and kind of can't miss, like, well, you can name the Billy Donovan, possibly the guy who's on air, but Kentucky may have a hard time.
Jay Wright.
Yeah.
Coach. Some of the best coaches out there want no part of the college game right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you look at that, Lauren, you think about trying to replace a legend, what Doug just said. I was in Little Rock, Tuesday night and Wednesday for a meeting, for a luncheon with a bunch of Arkansas Sigma News. It was a great meeting. And, Wes Moore broke that story, and he was on our show Monday morning, as he usually is. Fayetteville, you've been up there, Lauren. You've been everywhere, but there's 600,000 people up there. There's a ton of money. I know one thing about John Calipari. When he was in Memphis, he was real close with Frederick W. Smith at FedEx. He got involved. It's a really cool, and Doug's making a good point. Lauren, can a fan base be so, when you win as much as Kentucky has, can you become entitled? Because it's surprising. I mean, if I was Kentucky, I would tell Jay Wright whatever I needed to tell him to get him. I'd want to get somebody, but the fans need to understand that Kentucky's not the only school in the league that's trying to win. You know that at Georgia. Look what Georgia's doing now. And last year you lost one game. That was it. But you've won. You've been a busy man writing about national championships the last few years.
Well, you're much more well-versed in what's going on in basketball than I. I like Mike White very much, and he's been quite exciting, but he's got an uphill battle. I've thought about as you were talking, we used to say that geography was important, like you got great football talent in the SEC, but not in the state of Kentucky. But you got great basketball talent there. But now, I guess that's all changed because people recruit nationwide in all sports. So I don't really know what's going on. I just continue to be like everybody else. If we don't find a way to manage NIL, I think the kids should be paid name, image, and likeness, but they shouldn't be given a damn annuity when they walk on campus. If we don't fix that, we are going to find out that Saban's right. It's going to ruin the game, particularly in football. But I better stick to golf.
well, back to golf. I'm just amazed that you two Hall of Fame journalists and others are still with us, given the onslaught of secondhand cigarette smoke you had to inhale from Dan Jenkins all those years in the Quonset hut.
Well, he never smoked in the Quonset hut. I can tell you that for sure, because I was a closet smoker and we sneak out. And he wasn't supposed to be smoking at all. His wife, if his June ever caught him with a pack of cigarettes, she'd club him on the head with a 4-iron. So he used to hide his cigarettes in his golf bag. And he particularly loved going out to play golf because he could smoke. And I'd smoke when I saw Dan because he always offered up a cigarette. He'd come by the U.S. Open every year on Thursday. And Lauren, you were part of this too. Whatever he said. Well, the smoking lamp is lit. Let's go talk college football.
Yeah.
Right? And he'd go in the back and he'd talk about college football. He loved to do. And he loved Lauren. Lauren won't tell you this, but many of the characters in Dan's most famous books are based loosely on people that Lauren knew about or knew. And I've heard him tell some of the information. So he got a lot of information from Lauren for his novels. I still miss him. I think he's the greatest sports writer who ever lived, in my opinion. You read Dan Jenkins, you can't chuckle by the fourth paragraph. Something's wrong with you. So, all right, my friend Lauren, he was the best.
Every time TCU does well, I think of him and he's looking from above and very, very happy because he loved his Horned Frogs.
Yes,
yeah. Lauren, look, I know, Lauren, when you come back on, I know you've got a big day ahead of you, so I'm gonna let him go. But He may have he's already disappeared. But this one thing we know that's got to be Lauren because I hear those birds in the background. Doug,
no, that's my house.
Okay, Doug, do they pipe in those birds at Augusta National?
Well, I've been to 2 rounds at Augusta. I bet Dave's been to far more. And there was a particular, I can't remember which hole, it might have been Azalea, but I've got a pretty keen ear for the acoustics. And I will just say it sounded too powerful, a little too much volume and clarity for it to be just natural birds. So I lean toward, yes, somehow, some way they have the option. Maybe they don't use it every year, but they have the option of bringing some natural sound in. And I don't have a problem with that.
Well, do you want the scoop on that?
Yeah. What's the scoop on that?
It's real. They have microphones, especially for those birds in that area, and they can bring them or not. But those birds are not taped. And I don't know what Lauren knows about it, but I've talked to them.
They're merely enhancing the bird's audio or the bird's song by use of a microphone.
No, it's this is what I used to do for a living. So it's an effects mic that's placed out into a certain spot. Now, and that effects mic is just, and those mics are what the mics that you hear when you hear them swinging and hitting the ball. Yeah. These are all there are hundreds of effects mics placed out on the course, and
so they're just amplifying.
Yeah.
Well, it's not amplifying; it's just mixing. It's one of the reasons the Masters wins, like the broadcast wins an Emmy every year, is because what they do at the level that they do it's much like what you would expect at Augusta. I mean, it's top notch. One of my best friends in the world, Danny Cheatham, is the cameraman in the tower on Amen Corner or 16, I believe. But this whole week, he just texted me about 20 minutes ago. He's up in the air. Yeah. So these guys. But what they do with that, the audio is that they have the best of the best in the business that do the Masters. Yeah. And that's why you have things like that. And it's pretty special to see the effort that goes into it to conceal it and to make it, magical. But none of that stuff's like piped in or anything like that.
Yeah. And so then
let me ask you all this. Do you think that a chairman, Cliff Roberts, who would get upset with Jack Whitaker for saying the mob,
right,
when he described the crowd surging to the 18th green, and have Gary McCord fired for using the term "the greens as slick as bikini wax"? Do you think he would allow fake bird sounds on a telecast?
No, but Lauren, I come to defend.
Didn't take well to Gary talking about the body bags on the left of 10.
Well, and I was going to say, to defend, not criticize Augusta, because you get piled on if you say anything uncomplimentary, and they've earned that. You could say snobbish point of view. I say revered, hallowed ground are the terms I like. But the people are still going to debate: is that a natural sound? To Brendan's point, using effects microphones, I have no problem with it. All it's doing is bringing the natural wonder of Augusta into your TV and to your ears so that you can hear it. But I think they're not using the recorded sounds of birds, but they are using effects microphones, and people can decide, do they consider that natural or not. I don't have any problem.
Those special microphones could be out on Washington Road. You could be hearing cars go by. I mean, it's anywhere you want to be. But Brendan's right. It is for them. By the way, I found some information on Jason Day's outfit. Malbon Golf is making a name for itself. Talk about his increasingly popular brand with the new generation of golfers. And his flapping pants yesterday was great. Today, he says, well, Friday isn't any better. In fact, it may be worse. Although you fixed the pants for Friday's round, it's the vest that's turning hits. That's the one we're talking about, along with number 3, the Malbon Golf. Crazy. On another note, a good friend of mine, Tom Ingram, and you know him, Brendan, his family, his son or his daughter is in a company in California, and they just signed a deal to help design Tiger's new outfits There's a company called Sunday Red.
Or
He will debut his outfit on Sunday. All I know is it's got like 13 stripes under something. So it's fashion in golf is certainly changing, but if you're on the right side of it, there's a ton of money to be made.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Lauren,
and
go ahead, Doug. Dave.
In my opinion, the one thing that, and it's probably impossible to do it, the one thing TV kind of falls short on at the Masters is not capturing how hilly it is. And how it's straight downhill off the tee on one. Obviously, way downhill is a ski slope on 10, and how uphill 18 is, et cetera. How much elevation there is from the clubhouse down to 12 green on Amen Corner. I mean, you have to be on the grounds to really appreciate just how hilly that property is.
Well, try walking them sometime. Lauren will
Yeah, I know.
You know what a joke that is to me as a former caddy at Castle Pines.
A lot of hills there too.
In Colorado, where they had them. Where, by the way, is that Jack Vickers, who a big part of what we're talking about right now, obviously in the Golf Hall of Fame, who designed and Buddy knows far more of the history of that, but who designed a course in the foothills of Colorado to be so similar to Augusta National, from down to where as a caddy we wore zip up white jumpers, and that was our outfit. So interesting correlation there.
And then it's the greens. Like 14 is a good example. There's no bunkers on 14, and where they put the flagstick there, it's either go get a birdie or perhaps an eagle, or you're just thanking the Lord that you made par. I think that's the most dramatic example of the undulations of the greens, but it applies on pretty much every green, and the golden rule of you always be below the hole there.
Interesting point, real quick, a little nugget that doesn't relate to anything except basketball right now and the Arkansas, and oddly enough, the Castle Pines had a national membership. It's kind of a who's who of American industry. If you walk into the locker room, you see names of all those lockers. You know them because they're captains of industry. Brendan knows he caddied out there. Yeah. One of the names you'll see is Tyson. Yes, that same Tyson of Tyson Chicken.
I met him.
Come out there and spend a lot of time. And of course, we know how Tyson played such a big role. Actually, was the reason Calipari was hired, and they got all that chicken money there now. So those people, Brendan, you might have
caddied for him. I know. I met him. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Lauren, look, the Masters, I know you got a lot of stuff going on. Are you still in Augusta right now?
No, I had to come home. I had a little medical issue. I had to come home to get some medicine, and then I'm going back.
Okay, so it's about 2 hours from there. One last question, because I know you've got a bunch of stuff to do and kept you long, but by the way, it's the best ever you've done on the video and the technology. I mean, this has worked out well. But last question before you go. You've written a couple of books the last few years about Georgia's national championships. Well, you've written one, and you're probably writing another one. College football, the Masters. This is the one golf tournament that captures how much we revere history, traditions, and heroes in the South. The Masters. So kind of closing words about what you think is going to happen this weekend. Maybe pick a winner or a couple of people you think have the best chance.
Well, I've never been good at prognostication. I think all the majors have something unique about them. The British Open, oh boy, history there is just off the charts. And then, of course, the U.S. Open National Championship. And then the PGA has finally found a home and a date that looks good. But Augusta is just the magnitude of things, the beauty of the grounds, the way the gallery reacts to things, the pimento cheese sandwiches. How can a tournament be known for this? A pimento cheese sandwich. Everybody can make a pimento cheese sandwich, but Augusta seems to do it better. And whatever Augusta does, good or bad, it's going to be a headline or it's going to be an offbeat story. So I think, too, beautiful piece of ground, great competition, great history, and they brought the old timers back. They just have so many wonderful traditions, but also if you get good weather like we now have, and it looks like it's going to be that way right on through late Sunday, and that's why they say, yeah, Ken Venturi takes credit for saying that. I know I talked to him several times about this. He's the one that said that back nine, that the Masters begins on the back nine on Sunday.
Yeah.
They just had uncanny drama. Not every year, but in many, many years, except when Tiger liked to set the course record forever. His first win, I think, what did he win by 14 strokes?
Yeah, but here's the thing about Tiger. He went out at 40 on his first Master. They said, well, it's over now, and brought it back for that first round. Then he shot, what did he shoot, 30 or something?
Yeah.
I think he went 40-30. Yeah, I think he won by 12. I think he was 18, and Tom Kite or someone was 6.
Yeah. And by the way, Lauren, real quick, so you know, Mike White's name was on the list of Kentucky's coaches they were looking at. Do you know that?
Yes, I heard that, and you know better than I about Mike White. I think he's really a terrific coach, and I like him very much. He's at a place that's had no tradition, Georgia, in basketball, so he's got an uphill challenge, and that's why I'm so frustrated, like the rest of the world. You know, the kids here today, gone tomorrow, and it doesn't matter what you do. And if you go out now and say it takes $3-4 million to take care of the existing class you got. Well, that's like an evaporation. It's gone because you either got to get that same amount of money the next year, or they're going to all move on.
Yeah.
So it's just nuts. So I don't know if right now. I talked to a lot of old timers. I talked to Vince Dooley about his days as a coach. I'm so glad I coached when I did. It's just out of control now. So we're hurting the game overall. And someday, now I don't know how long it'll take, and I know some school alumni are far more well-heeled than others, but someday you're going to get donor fatigue. People ain't going to keep doing this for kids who are going to jump to another school just for another, 10 grand. It's just, and it's just nuts to me. If a contractor does some work for you, I know there are construction loans, but you don't pay him till he finishes the job, do you? So there ought to be smart enough to come with some plan to where the kids could get something like a fund. Every year we put $10,000 in this fund. If you stay 4 years, you'll have $40,000, and you can spend it then, or if you want to be smart and invest it. There's got to be a solution, and but nobody seems to have come up with anything.
Real quick thought, Lawrence. Really for interrupting you, but think about this. You're a fan of Major League Baseball. I had forgotten this. When free agency came around in baseball, people said it's over. The game has been ruined. What the Players Association did was so smart. They went to 2 All-Star games, and the money was used for player benefits. Think about it. If this concept was applied, the same thing with the money that came in, a certain percentage was put aside for players who later on couldn't play football and benefited them on the hospitalization program. That money could be used for a great cause for everybody. That's the kind of thinking I'd like to see with the NIL.
Well, something like that has to be done, but I don't know how long it's going to take us to get to it.
No.
Well, Lauren, look.
I do hope that the presidents around the country won't allow this franchise concept. We ought to keep kids in class, and that ought to be part of the process. And when if we ever lose that, then I just think you're going to have people turning their back on greatest sport. Do you think anything greater than the championships in college athletics? It's just sensational.
Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, Lauren, look, I've got a friend of mine that's gonna call you. That's down there. Her dad passed away last summer. John Dobbs from Memphis, a member of Augusta National, and Kirby's down there right now. And I said, look up Lauren. So if you get a call from Kirby Dobbs Floyd from Memphis, she's going to call you. She wants to meet you because she wanted to know if you knew her dad. But she goes to the Masters every year, and she's down there right now. She's actually watching the show right now. But Lauren, thank you so much for being on here with us, and look forward to having you on again soon and getting back over there. 64 straight Masters. Always love having you on here.
Great to be with you guys. All the best.
All right, thank you. And that was fun. Doug, you're talking about you're really good at pointing out little things, egg salad, pimento cheese sandwiches. You're wearing your Augusta National shirt. But and Lauren talked about the football part of it. You're a great writer. That's a skill that you have. Buddy is. And you think a look, you talked about Kentucky. That's a real problem. Their fan base is repelling coaches from coming there. Kind of expand. You wanted to talk about that today.
Yeah, and I don't want to blame Kentucky Wildcat fans for what they're going through with a coaching search and transition. I think there's an element of that, and I would even say on the question of how and why do fans become entitled. I don't think you can stop it. I think Georgia, I'm certain Kirby Smart is dealing with a segment of the football fan base that feels entitled. Hey, we won 2. We should win. We should average winning 1 every 2 or 3 years, and maybe they will. I think it gets a lot harder. I bet Dave would not disagree that there was an element. It's not monolithic. It's not everyone, but an element of the Alabama football fan base who felt some entitlement. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Saban just kept defying gravity, for God's sake. So I guess you would call it's a high-class problem to find yourself managing a fan base that feels entitled. And Bruce just felt that way and sort of pushed back on the Auburn fan base a little bit. I'm not sure I liked him doing that, but he was frustrated that, he has a 24-win season, wins the SEC tournament, and all people wanted to talk about was how disappointed they were at the, chaotic, unfortunate one-and-done loss to Yale. And that game, when you have a one-game elimination in any tournament, those things are happening. It was Auburn's turn in the barrel. And it didn't help, as people in these parts know, when you've got Nate Oates taking the very good Alabama team on a hot run all the way to the Final Four. So, it's a good problem to have, isn't it, to be dealing with an entitled fan base. I'm just shocked that Kentucky gets to add to their resume, like it or not, that they were turned down by Baylor, Scott Drew at Baylor, for the Kentucky job, and it could not have been over money.
Well, and I'm getting word now that the BYU coach is their man at Kentucky. Shoney just sent that to us. I mean,
Brendan, that was a story yesterday. I think.
I mean, they were talking to him yesterday, but
Pope was
his last name. Did he play at Kentucky? I don't know.
He played at Kentucky. Yes,
he did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Are we saying done deal? Are we using the done deal word?
I'm not going to say.
I don't think it's been announced yet.
What, Mike White or Pope?
Pope.
The word on the street is it's Pope, but I don't think there's been a specific announcement yet. I could be wrong. Yeah. And my memo to the entitled fan is look in the friggin' mirror. I mean, if your personal life, your professional life,
correct.
If every 8 years you're getting to a Sweet 16 and then to a Final Four over an 8-year period, man, you're a winner. You should be proud. And then you look at your pet team. Oh, I'm bummed out because Alabama, lost in the semifinal. BS that. I mean, I'm the most grateful guy on earth. That I got to grow up with Coach Bryant, and then be a middle-aged guy with Coach Saban.
Here. See, you have perspective. Yeah. And by the way, before this show gets away from us, Rob, and this has a Birmingham, even a Vestavia Hills flavor, but you can make the PGA Tour and have your moments, but for more golfers than not, it just doesn't work out with longevity. I speak of Smiley Kaufman pride of Vestavia Hills. He went on to LSU. His wife, Francie, who's a complete sweetheart, practically grew up with my twin daughters. Then she goes to Auburn. She was head cheerleader there. So Smiley and Francie have been sweethearts since Vestavia High School. And as all will remember, he's a PGA Tour winner in Las Vegas in 2015, shooting a final round 61. I don't know about you, Dave, but I hadn't shot a 61. And then, of course, he was in that final twosome with Jordan Spieth in the 2016 Masters, and that is a cruel fate to get handed when you're in contention. So it didn't go well. It wouldn't go well for practically any really new player like that. But now he's gotten a beautiful break. I think.
Well, that's a good example of look in the mirror. And by the way, he beat me in both basketball and golf. And I went out a little bit with his Aunt Julie, Jeff's sister. Anyway, but Smiley's a great example. Okay, so he wins that tournament. He's in the final pairing on Sunday with Jordan, shoots an 80, gets hurt, falls to 400th in the world. And now he is, he has returned. His resurgence is at media, and he is like cool. I mean, his happy hour Smiley, and I mean he has become a media star. So there's a great example of, hey, you get knocked to the canvas, get back up, and even if you're doing get back up and do something different.
And that was exactly the footnote I wanted to sneak in the show. That what we're after is we want to cheer each other on. And just because it doesn't work out in head coaching wherever, or playing, or getting on the PGA Tour when everybody declared that you're the next phenom that can't be beat, you can find your way in life. And that experience that he went through, I have no doubt, has given him great perspective and humor and an engaging style when he's an on-course commentator. And imagine this, guys. We were invited to Smiley and Francie's wedding in Birmingham. And I don't know about y'all, but my groomsmen did not include Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, and Ricky Fowler. It was
at Vestavia Country Club, no less. The reception, yeah. So
well,
cool.
the cool thing about it,
I did a commercial for Golf Digest once and hung out with Ricky Fowler all day. He was a pretty fun guy to be around, considering that environment's hurry up and wait. And the guy was all day long, just hung out. It was like, no worries. He chilled, and he was. And I've been around a few golfers. He was definitely one of my favorite attitudes, at least.
Yeah,
I sure would love to see Ricky win a major. He seems like such a good guy. He's a favorite, amongst his peers. He works so hard at the game. I mean, you think he'd be this late night owl. He's not. I mean, he's early to bed, early to rise, works out like a maniac, and he really deserves to win a major.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He'll get there. Rob, I got to cut out, man.
Yeah, Doug, thank you so much, man. This was great stuff. And, the cool thing about everything that we've talked about today is anything worth having is worth fighting for and working for and revering. And what Lauren said about college football, all these championships, we talk about it. There's 91 of them, men's and women's NCAA national championships. The college football is not one of those. It's its own separate deal. But the money that it makes off the playoff, and it's going to make off of a 12-team playoff, if we made $450 million on a 4-team, if math and you follow logic, that becomes $1.35 billion. That's a lot. That pays for a lot of D1, D2, D3. The college experience, we're making it all about a bunch of just money grubbing. And if you're, as Lauren said on the show one time, if your pillow's not soft enough or your mattress is too hard, you're going to quit. Well, the hell with this backing down and not being tough on these kids, because to say you can't coach them tough anymore, you know what? If I'm making that much money as a coach, I'd be putting a lot aside and investing a lot. I wouldn't worry about money. I wouldn't worry about losing my job. I'd worry about doing what's right. And I'd tell these kids to kiss my ass. I mean, I would. I don't blame Jay Wright for walking, Coach K, Roy Williams, and there are going to be other coaches. You've got college coaches. Jeff Heffley at Boston College went to take an assistant job in the NFL. How many more of those do we need to see? Okay. Because everybody is glued to the TV this weekend watching the Masters, even people that don't play golf like me. I mean, if I play in a corporate tournament, they put me with the best golfers. You know, I'm a good athlete. I can figure it out, but I don't play golf. It is such a mentally tough game, but it's even more physically tough. I mean, if you go hit 200 or 300 balls, you look how you feel if you go to the putting range. We have got to quit kowtowing and coddling these soft, weak people that are trying to run our society into the ground. And it's absolutely affecting sports. So, you know, people say, Rob, it's over. No, the free market will work it out. And Lauren alluded to it. There's only so many times you can go to your clients and recommend stocks after you've lost a lot of money for them. It's the business world. You can't keep going to the same group of donors. I talk to them. They're sick of it. They'll do a little, but you better get a lot of people doing it like the Green Bay Packers do. That's why, and we've talked about this, we're going to need some crash and burns to happen, Dave, you know, in the business world. And I don't know if we're going to go to, you know, the private equity venture capital model, but how long are you going to be able to keep funding this nonsense when you've got kids? You have a team and the fans grow close to them. And then as soon as the season's over, they're bailing. So did those guys, you love your school and you want the student athletes to love your school as much as you do. That's always been the magic potion that makes college athletics work. And you say, well, go to the pros and do that crap. Leave college the hell alone.
Well, I mean, let's take football and men's football and basketball as an example. You know, the current societal reality, and I think it'll continue for another generation, is that many of the best athletes coming in never had a father figure, and so now you're throwing all this money at them, and you know, entitling them even more, and they go to one school, then they go to the next school, and sometimes there are 3 schools before they, not graduate. Well, what happens to them if they don't have a great career in the NBA or NFL, and they're 28 years old and completely broke and in debt? I think it was Buddy made a great point about the Players Association. I'm thinking of the NFL and stuff. I mean, let's NIL. Let's raise a fund so that on the back end of this, when these kids are now, young adults are, approaching middle-aged adults and they're in real trouble, okay, help them out. Because I mean, most of these kids now that are getting all this money thrown at them that they've never seen before, and they don't know what to do with it. They don't have any sort of fiscal responsibility. Yeah. A lot of them never had a father figure, nuclear family, et cetera. I mean, in my opinion, it's sinful. And it is really sinful. And, the only objective of doing that is the instant gratification of winning a title in 1 year and placating to the some of the wealthy donors that'll, do anything to have a winning, program, and just to the often ignorant fan base.
Yeah. And when you see a player go out and buy a Lamborghini, look, we all know people that make a lot of money. All of us do. No, I don't know anyone that drives a Lamborghini. I mean, people that have a lot of money, and you do too. They don't do that stuff. Who the hell? And Carson Beck at Georgia? I mean, if I'm one of his teammates, remember the scene in the original version of The Longest Yard with Burt Reynolds when they knew he was throwing that game? What did his offensive linemen do? They didn't block for him. So in the NFL, sure, there are guys in that locker room that make more money than other guys. That's the pros. The NCAA needs to be just abolished and thrown into the scrap heap of historical irrelevance. Shame on them, because they've done nothing. They've played kick the can. Here we are now. So we need a commissioner, a strong alpha male, a small group. We don't need a big committee, and we don't need chairs at the table. Have them stand around a round table like they do in the Army and 10 minutes. Here's what we're going to do. If you don't like it, go find something else. That's what we got to do.
The NCAA has always been the pretense of governance. It's
right.
they'll do something and they'll put the death penalty on one school but not the other, and it's always been the pretense of governance. I mean, governance is needed now more than ever, and they're just, as you said, kicking the can.
Yeah, and either look, we're going to fix this. The free market will fix it. We have been through some really rough patches in college football and college sports before, but what we've got now, college fans love their teams because they've always felt like those players love that school like they do. And we're seeing it's not really that case. You've just got a bunch of bounty hunters and ringers that come up there and get the sign-up bonus. And you start throwing money in there, it changes people's behavior. So, you know what? I'm an optimist, though. We'll figure this out. I don't care if people say, Brown, you're crazy, it's over. No, it's not. We're gonna. It's always a mess before we get a change. It's always darkest before dawn. That's where we are.
Well, it's never over. I mean, as long as there's money, millions and billions of dollars, it's never over. It may modify and change and be called other things. I mean, we've seen that in sport. If you know history of sport, you've seen it. With every sport that's ever come along, it's got to change. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. I think for me, really being like all of us, but really being dug into this issue since it's happened. So and I've talked to my interns about it. And, this is a wonderful time to be in sports media because you get to cover something you'll never see probably again in your lifetime, which is a big metamorphosis of a league, a sport, or whatever that makes it big. We'll never see this big a change probably in college sports. When the dust settles, I think when things get you in your lifetime. So these topics and stories, they're so there's so much to dig into, and being sort of associated with it and talking to some of my interns, they've been telling me about. I said, well, what's the fallout with like your buddies who are players and whatever? What's that feeling like for them? Yeah. And a lot of them were saying like they're just tired of everyone doubting that they're not going to be good people. And, and I said, oh, well, that was interesting. And he said, yeah, because, a lot of really good kids go to University of Florida. I know a lot of schools, but, the impressive, talented pool of intelligent kids, young adults go to school there. And, and he said, yeah, they're all just sort of like, well, why does everyone think that we're going to fail or not fail? So we have created a very big divide here, which is a groundswell, which we're going to see that going to alter and change, because then there's going to be a union and a players union and all that stuff is really going to start to change all this things, because I think players and young people now are far more empowered and entitled because of the internet, because of, they feel like, the access to knowledge, to AI, to change things, to know information, they're far more versed in that space than we are. And I think that is the interesting dichotomy for me, to see what is going to occur, and then how will it shake out? Because will that affect coaching? Will it not affect coaching? Maybe some of these players know better and say, look, I need a really good coach that's going to give me the structure. And I think great players, a la DJ Lagway here at Florida, they want to be coached.
Yeah. Well, that's a great
point. Yeah. Great point, Brendan. Really, the whole notion of a divide. I example this week and Caitlin Clark and a lot of wokeness lined up on one side against her, and what's going to happen to her in the NBA, and then on the other side, and how the gratitude that she's put billions in the sport. We're going to see a divide, and I think the encouraging thing is that still at the end of the day, most people, not all people, but most people are inherently good and want to do the right thing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, defer to age and wisdom in this case. I mean, we all know what money can do to you and what it can do for you. But, again, I see it firsthand in my practice. You don't give money out to 18, 19-year-old kids. Not much. And I will say this. There's this narrative that these athletes are victims. Hey, take your victimhood narrative and put your lip over your head and swallow. From grumpier old men. Great.
Well,
Great
I don't
quote on
agree
that
with
one.
that, though. I mean, I think some of them are
They're not victims. They're not
When you
victims.
come from the ghetto
I
and you've
don't
got
care.
nothing, you
No,
should care.
You've got love of somebody. You've
Oh
got
my
and
God,
and
that
it's-
is
we're-
a very,
we're not-
very
no,
skewed angle perspective.
No, we're
right there.
college campuses are not there to provide. It's for you to go there and get an education.
Right.
And you know what? If I'm all about capitalism, I'm just saying that I don't like that term that they're victims. When you get a scholarship to the University of Florida or Alabama or Arkansas, that thing's worth about $200,000 a year when you factor in everything it's worth. And this,
Right.
you've got all this stuff coming to you. You are networked in for jobs and connections and relationships like nothing most people could ever dream of. All
But what
you
if
gotta
you don't
do
own a
is-
sport coat?
Hey, you know what?
And what
you
if
don't
you've
own a
never?
sport-
What if you don't know how to tie a tie? What
Well,
if your parents are crackheads and you ever even been and you've raised yourself?
Well, you know what? That means that you're a tough entrepreneur if you raised yourself. I'm just saying we can't sit there and say blanketly. There are individual cases. We know that. I helped people out in college. I mean, I know everybody does. That we knew what was going on. But I'm just saying that we can't, Dave, have this blanket that every one of these student athletes are victims because they're not. They're given incredible.
I think it's the identity versus the individual.
Yeah.
And we've swayed so far to the identity, and because
Exactly.
they're this identity, then therefore this must be, and someone's got to pay for it. No, Brendan's right. There are victims. I mean, there are kids who get scholarships that are coming in with having no family values,
Sure.
and they need to be mentored. And it's the responsibility of the coach. It's the responsibility of the athletic department. It's the responsibility of the university to mentor them. Notwithstanding NIL and transfer portals and stuff like that. I mean, they have a responsibility to mentor them, to make them the best kid possible, with the hope that a light bulb, a moral light bulb will go on, and they'll be grateful for the mentorship they've gotten. It won't happen all the time, but that it happens sometimes, in my opinion, is good enough. But we just got to stop this identity stuff, because they're this, then.
Yeah. Blanket
And look,
identity. That's all we're saying.
And not every player is making, $100,000. Majority of the players are not hardly getting paid. In fact, Napier's even addressed it in the past, is saying, that creates a problem on the team sometimes because so-and-so is driving a Hellcat, parking in the parking lot, and I'm on my scooter. You know what I mean? Like, again, those are young people trying to deal with a lot of psychological stuff, like away from home the first time. There's all of that normal sort of psych. And then you add this other part. Well, hey, like, I don't even know, like, I'm so fish out of water because I don't even know, how any of this was, because their world was so different. And now so I think we're, it is a tough position to be in because I see both sides of it. And it's like one of those issues where there's just not going to be one blanket statement that says, boom, mic drop, fixes everything and everyone should be like this, because everyone's different and from different situations.
They are.
And if we're going to be sensitive and we're going to look out for the student, we got to say we know better. And I think that's what was great about Lauren Smith, and other people is saying, we've got to figure out some other way than to just inject this kid with, potentially, a bunch of money, and how that affects them as a young person. Because, we've seen that with celebrities and whatnot alike. So I think Rob's right in the sense of, in the sense of finding a moral high ground here with the decision-making process, in the thought that these are still young people.
Yeah, well, they are. And look,
they're not going to know better. And as a parent or whatever, all parents, we have to say, we are the adults.
Well,
and this needs to change.
Yeah, and I've talked with people that are running these NIL collectives at different schools, and one of them told me, one of the collective at Auburn, if you're a member, you're assigned some student athletes to mentor. And because if you've got the resources to contribute to this in a big way, Dave, you know this, you go help them. It's called financial literacy. Bill Courtney talks about that a lot. I'm going to get him on the show here soon. Very, very wise man. If you want to see kind of an idea of how this works, go watch the independent film documentary called Undefeated. It won a lot of awards. Bill Courtney in Memphis, very successful, owns a lumber yard in North Memphis, coached a football team for 7 years in North Memphis. It's a pretty rough area. And he asked people at the first meeting to raise their hand if anyone in their family ever went to college. Very few hands. Any of them ever graduated. You know, it's just fewer and fewer and fewer. It's called financial literacy. All I'm saying is that, sure, there are kids that come in there with rough backgrounds. My dad told me when he graduated from Auburn, was in the Army, he said, man, I had people in my platoon, 20 years old, and never been to the dentist before. Okay? This ain't the first time we've had people that have had some rough circumstances. But hard work works. And kissing these kids' butts and sucking up and this identity thing, each person's an individual. That's right. But what you got to do, Dave, you know this. You were in the Army. Hard work works. And tough love. If you love someone, you'll be tough on them, won't you?
Well, I read this. It's kind of trite, but I read it on social media last night, I think. And, it says obesity is hard. Physical fitness is hard. Choose your hard. Debt is very hard. Fiscal responsibility is also very hard. Choose your hard. I mean, every aspect of your life, you're basically making the choice, between two hard choices. Yeah. And do you want to invest in the hard now so you do not have the hard circumstance later? And that's, to me, it's as simple as that. And it's looking in the mirror saying, okay, what in my life, where could I apply that better? And then what's my role, now that I'm 60 as a mentor to kids to help them make those kinds of choices, because it's habit forming, it's compounding. When you start making easy, when you start choosing the easier wrong over the harder right, it becomes a habit.
Yeah, it is. Hey, look, let me just say this. We've gone long today, but great show. I can't say any better than what Doug just closed at, and Brendan. To everybody on this show today, awesome show. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Tell people about this show. Have a great weekend.
Kentucky
Support
Derby,
all of our
Kentucky
sponsors.
Derby, Kentucky Derby.
Kentucky
151.
Derby. Yeah, we got a lot going on.
151.
I'm gonna let everybody get out of here and have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday, man. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal. And the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.